going to just run through quickly are the 4 triangle reasons that we've learned. I know it's a touch small, but I just want to get all of them on the screen because this is, again, what I've said to you guys is so important. What you need to be doing is you need to have like an information sheet somewhere, whether you've got a separate piece of paper, back of your book, wherever you're putting it, you need to have an information or a cheat sheet where you are putting down all of your geometric reasons so that when you're studying for your test, for your exam, when you're doing homework, you have all of this information quickly and easily accessible. And the more you start to practice these reasons, the easier it becomes to know when to apply them. All right, so we've learned 4 triangle reasons so far. The first 3 are the super important ones. It's not to say the 4th one isn't important, but the first 3 are our very, very important triangle reasons that we need to know. Alrighty, so the first reason that we had a look at was the fact that the 3 angles in a triangle add up to 180. And remember, anytime in geometry we make a statement, we have to give a reason. The reason there is sum of angles in a triangle. Our second reason that we looked at was the fact that if we've got an exterior angle of a triangle, so a triangle outside our triangle, an angle outside our triangle, it is equal to the sum of the 2 opposite interior angles. So here, the exterior angle A is equal to the 2 opposite interior angles added together, B plus C. Again, our reason, because it's a geometric statement, is exterior angle of triangle. The third reason we looked at is if we are given a triangle with 2 equal sides, so basically an isosceles triangle, the 2 angles opposite those equal sides are also equal to each other. So remember, we spoke about the fact that we've been given 2 equal sides here, and so the 2 angles opposite those equal sides are equal. And our reason there is angles up equal sides. We can say the angles are equal because we're given that the sides are equal. This last reason is then, or was then, our first converse reason, where we looked at the opposite or working in the opposite direction of angles up equal sides. So angles up equal sides, remember, I'm just going to actually write this down on the side because sometimes it's easier to visualize it like this. Angles up equal sides, what we are given are 2 equal sides. And so therefore we can say the angles opposite are equal. Sorry, I'm using shorthand. Now with our converse reason, we are given a triangle with 2 equal angles. And so now we can say that the sides opposite those equal angles are also equal. So now it's the other way around. This time I give you the angles are equal, and now you can say that the sides are equal. And our reason there is now sides up equal angle. Like I said, this was our first converse reason that we had a look at. And it is different to the first one because the information we are given is different. So in the second reason for angles up equal sides and sides up equal angles, we are now given 2 equal angles. And once we have that information, we can therefore say the opposite sides are equal. So it's very, very important to look at what information you are given and what you can then say is true based on the information you were given. Okay, so those are the 4 triangle reasons that we have learned. We need to be able to apply all 4 of them. The really, really, really important ones in terms of triangle geometry are these first 3. We can use the 4th one. It does come up every now and then. But these first 3 are the most important triangle geometry reasons that we have learned so far. If we can apply those 3, we will be absolutely fine when it comes to triangle geometry. So in case you haven't written down or in case you haven't got this, I'm just going to wait here for a second for you guys to screenshot these reasons. And then we're going to have a look at examples, making sure that we're able to apply all of these triangle reasons. It's clearly the end of term. Right, and guys, remember, if at any point you have questions, or if you're struggling with something, just put it on the chat, or if you don't want to put it on the chat with everyone, you can direct message Yolanda or myself, and we can help you out with whatever the problem or whatever question you have. Alrighty, I'm assuming we've all got those screenshots. Let's have a look at some examples. Right, now guys, what's really important to remember is that when you start doing geometry, often there's a bunch of different ways that you can get to the same answer. And as I've told you before, as long as you are correctly applying your geometric reasons, if your reason is different to mine or different to your friends, it is absolutely fine. It is not wrong. You've just gone about getting your answer in a different way, and that is absolutely fine. Okay, so I want you guys to try this first one for me. Using all of the reasons that you know, I want you to have a look at this question. I want you to figure out which reason is going to help you to determine the value of this angle M. Right, so on the chat, I want M equals with a reason. Let's try this one and let's see what we get. Remember your reasons. And like I said, on the chat, I want to see M equals and what your reason would be for why M is equal to the value you've said. And again, guys, there are different ways to do this. And when I go through the answer, I'll do my best to give you the different options in terms of how you could answer this question, just so that you can see. Remember those reasons. I'm glad I'm seeing reasons. Okay, I'm going to give everyone another 60 or so seconds. Remember your reasons. Like I said, there are two ways to do this question, so I will show you both. I'll show you the quick way first, and then I'll show you the slightly longer way second, but both will give you full marks. Again, remember those reasons. I'm glad to see most of you are putting reasons down. Okay, and I'm glad to see some of you are already thinking of what is the second way that I could potentially do this. All right, so guys, I'm going to do the quick way first, but like I said, both of these will get you full marks. Alrighty, so the quickest way to get to this answer is to immediately say, whoopsie, that M plus 80 degrees must be equal to 130 degrees, because that 130 degrees is an exterior angle of my triangle. And because it's an exterior angle, we know that we add together the two opposite interior angles. Then we just go and solve our equation. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to subtract 80 on both sides. And so M is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, that's probably, English today has gone. It's probably the quickest way to do it. Right, the second way that you could do this question is you could go and first work out this angle here at CDB. So you can say angle CDB is equal to 180 minus 130 because of angles on a straight line. And so now you know this angle here at CDB is 30 degrees. And then you can use angles in a triangle. So you know that M plus 30 plus 80 must be equal to 180 degrees. Your reason sum of angles in triangle. And so M is equal to 180 minus 30 minus 80 degrees, which gives you 50 degrees. All right, so excuse me. Oh, so sorry, I do mean 50 instead of 30.
Well spotted, guys. You guys are awake. I'm happy. I'm happy. They can see.
Sorry. I do, thank you. Okay, so
they can see because they're wide awake. Well done, guys.
Thanks, Anyani. Well done. I don't know if anyone else picked it up. Right. So there we go. We could also use angles on a straight line and then sum of angles in a triangle. What's really important though, grade 8s, is the fact that you have to, if you're going to do the second option, you have to make this statement. So you have to show that you got this angle of 50 by saying angles on a straight line. You can't just jump straight to angles in a triangle. You had to do some working out before you got there. And so you need to show that. If you don't show that, you will lose marks. All right. So I've said this to you before, but when it comes to geometry, the safer option is just to write everything down and your teacher will find the marks. All right. Rather be safe and have all of the information that you've used there in your answer, then leave out something and risk losing a mark. Alrighty, so hope we all got that. I hope you've checked and marked your work. If anyone has any questions, now's the time to raise your hand while everyone's taking a screenshot. Righto, Lindo.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, for question 1, I said 130 degrees equals to 80 plus m, and then m equals to 130 degrees minus 80, m equals to 50 degrees, exterior angles in a triangle.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Just remember, we should always put our reason with our very first statement. So your reason, and grade 8, you should all be listening to this. Your reason should never be with your answer. It should always be with your initial statement. So you can see here.
I put it on the slide.
Perfect. So the second I made this first statement, I gave a reason. And the same thing in the second option. The second I gave a statement, I gave a reason. Statement, reason. So as soon as you make that first statement, there has to be a reason. But Lyndall, that is absolutely fine. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sean?
Oh, hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Oh, ma'am, I was asking ma'am, I was asking that I got confused where there was the 50, ma'am, because there was nothing, ma'am. So I got confused there, so I didn't get the correct answer.
Okay, when you say the 50, which 50 do you mean? The yellow 50 on the diagram that I've highlighted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that 50 you only need if you are going to do the second working out. So if you are first going to use angles on a straight line and then you're going to use sum of angles in a triangle, you need it. But if you do the first way, so if you use exterior angles of a triangle, you don't actually even care about that angle. All you do is you know that you add the two opposite interior angles, which is what my first statement says, and then you can go and solve for m.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so you didn't have to use the 50 if you didn't want to. Excuse me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Alrighty, guys. So what I want from you guys is to try question 2. Now be careful. There's 2 angles here that I want you to find. Let me just see what this is. 2 angles I want you to find, A and B. I don't know what this technology and meet them. Again, on the chat, I want to see these answers with their reason. So you're going to write A equals whatever with its reason, and you're going to write B equals whatever with its reason. So I want to see those on the chat, please. And guys, just remember that if you struggle with load shedding, connectivity issues, if you are running late for whatever reason, remember that all of the lessons are recorded. Okay, so you can get the recorded lessons and you can go and watch them later. Remember your reasons and remember A answer, B answer, just that we know which is which.
Keep them coming, my people, keep them coming.
Guys,
Remember
just
to-
no,
Yeah,
keep going,
that's right.
Yolanda. No, keep
Yeah.
going.
I was just reminding them to write on their book so we can mark, because there's so many ways that you can write this, like teacher Sam did said. So make sure that you're writing it on your book and you are giving us reasons also, so that you can see the different ways. Because I'm looking at that and I'm like, whoa, what a nice, interesting one.
Guys, just because I was asked now, please remember that the Watobe wizard is available for you guys outside of this lesson time. So when you're doing homework or whatever and you're struggling, you can use the Watobe wizard. You've all been sent a link for it. And it is free. So please do use it. It really is a good resource to help you. Okay. And guys, the Watobe wizard you literally just send it the question that you're struggling with. So you can send a photo of the question, or you literally just type out the question and the Watobe wizard will help you with your question that you're struggling with. As an example. I literally just had my wizard open. So, okay, these are metric questions that I had. So for example, I sent it a photo of a question that I had, and then the Watobe wizard helps me in order to figure out what's going on there. Okay, so literally you just send it your question and does what it needs to do.
That's pretty good.
Okay, guys. I've seen a couple answers. So there were a couple questions that came through to me privately. So guys, just listen to the answers as we go along. And hopefully that will, I have replied to all of your questions, but hopefully if you are feeling still a little bit unsure, it'll make sense as I go through it. All right. Okay, let's do it. So question, and I've told you this many times before, you can start alphabetically, you don't have to, it's completely up to you. In this case, you can start with either variable, it really doesn't matter. I am going to start with A just because it's alphabetical. So if we have a look at where A is here in my diagram, and what I should see is that this is angles on a straight line. Okay, so that means that A plus 125 degrees is equal to 180. So guys, what I've done here, so for those of you a bit confused of how to use the reasons and how to give the reasons, I know that the angles on a straight line, if they're next to each other, so adjacent angles on a straight line, must add up to 180 degrees. That's a fact I know, we've learned it. So I have made an equation, or I've made a statement that I know that if I add A and 125, I will get 180. Now there's a reason I've said that. So I've made the statement. Why have I said it? Well, it's because I know about angles on a straight line. So if you ever like question what reason to give, think about, why did you say what you said? Why are you doing what you're doing? And if you can say why, that's your reason. So inverse operations tells me that I now need to subtract 125 on both sides. And so A is equal to 55 degrees. Now I always like to put the answers that I find on my diagram, just in case it helps me later on. Now for question B, because we found A, there's two ways to do question B. Either you can use sum of angles in a triangle and you can get B, or you can use exterior angles of a triangle, which means that you know 125 must be equal to B plus 45. That's the one I'm going to use, but you get exactly the same answer either way. So we know that B plus 45 degrees must give you 125 degrees, and that is because of exterior angles of a triangle. Okay, again, I used the fact that I know that 125 is found by adding 45 and B. Why did I know that? Because it's an exterior angle. So I was able to give my reason. That therefore means, again, inverse operations. So I need to subtract 45 degrees on both sides of my equation. And guys, please remember, inverse means opposite. So you need to do the opposite. It was plus 45. You now need to subtract 45. And so you get that B is equal to 80 degrees. You would have gotten 80 degrees if you had used sum of angles in a triangle as well. Either way, you get exactly the same answer. So regardless of whatever reason you chose, it's going to work. Okay. Right, so take your screenshots. If anyone has any questions, now's the time to ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to give you one more and then we'll take a little break. And well done, those of you using the chat for questions. But again, if you do have questions that you want to ask and you want to raise your hand, you're welcome to do it now. Otherwise, you're screenshotting, and I'm going to move on to the third example. Right, guys, good. Okay, so example 3, again, just take note of the fact that I'm asking you to determine x and y. So there are 2 values that I'm wanting you to find again. And this is often the case. What you need to start getting used to is the fact that when you are doing geometry, it's very, very rare that I ask you to just find one angle. You're going to have to find at least 2 or 3 angles. So you need to get used to being able to find multiple angles in a question. If we have a look, we've got angle X that I want you to find, and you've got angle Y that I'm asking you to find. So remember, answers with reasons. In the chat, so X equals, Y equals with those reasons. Remember, with reasons. What's a bit different here, guys, is you've got 2 triangles here. So just have a look at those triangles that you have, see how you can potentially use them to find X and Y. Say 2 triangles. Technically, you've got 3, but break up the diagram into what is useful to you. Oh, it's cold. I haven't seen any answers on the chat yet. Unless I've missed something. Nope. Okay. Oh, maybe I should mute myself before I cough in your ears. Okay, answers slowly coming in. I'm going to give you another minute or 2. And remember, guys, you don't have to start with X. You can start with Y. I'm going to tell you now, Y's reason cannot be angles on a straight line. Okay, angles on a straight line would mean that this line would need to extend and we would need to know this angle over here, right? It doesn't. There's no angle on a straight line here with Y. X and Y are not next to each other on the straight line, so they cannot be angles on a straight line. Remember, it always has to be 2 angles directly adjacent or directly next to each other. So Y's reason cannot be angles on a straight line. And guys, also look at the diagram. Whilst it's not often that we make them perfectly to scale, it should look sort of realistic. So angle Y is definitely an acute angle. So also bear that in mind while you're working this out. Y should definitely not be more than 90 degrees. Alrighty, let's have a look because we're getting a varying answers here. Okay, I'm going to start with X again. I'm going to go alphabetical. It doesn't matter though. So what I see for X is the fact that X is an exterior angle to this triangle CBD. So this triangle I've drawn in pink, it is an exterior angle to that triangle. So what I know is that X is equal to the sum of the two opposite interior angles. So 68 plus 42. My reason, exterior angle of triangle. Right, when I add 68 and 42 together, I get 110 degrees. So here, X is equal to 110 degrees, and I'm going to put that on my diagram because now I've got that information, it might be helpful to me. Now again, look at the diagram. X is clearly an obtuse angle, and whilst again, we don't always draw it super accurately, we do try and make it look like what it should be. So 110 angle should never look like an acute angle. Okay, when it comes to Y, you've got lots of different options to get Y. Either you can use this big triangle ABC and you can use the sum of angles in a triangle and you can get Y, or you can use a slightly smaller triangle CAD and again use sum of angles in a triangle. Either way, you get exactly the same answer. So because it's highlighted, that's what I'm going to use. I know that Y plus the 36 at the top plus the X angle that I've just found to be 110 must equal 180 degrees because of sum of angles in triangle. Okay, 36 plus 110 are like terms, so I can add them together to get 146 degrees. And then I'm going to use my inverse operation. So I'm now going to subtract 146 on both sides. It would help if I wrote 146 on both sides of my equation. And so I get that Y is equal to 34 degrees. And again, Y is clearly an acute angle. And so we do try and make our diagrams at least represent what they should. So Y definitely should not be bigger than 90. We use sum of angles in a triangle to get Y, either the big triangle ABC or the smaller triangle that I used, CDA. Both of them give you the correct answer. Okay, if anyone has any questions, now's the time to raise your hand and ask. Otherwise, you're screenshotting. Amanda?
Ma'am, did you experience that this is an exterior angle?
For X?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so X is an exterior angle because if I look at the small triangle CDB, so the one I've outlined in pink there, I can see that it's an angle exterior to or outside of that triangle. So I can use exterior angle there.
Okay.
Munira? Oh, sorry, I'm unmuting other people. Munira, Sean, just hang on a second. Munira, you need to unmute yourself. There should be a pop-up to unmute. There we go.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I wanted to say by Y, how did you know that you should add it to 110 degrees?
Munira, you broke up a little bit. Ask me again, how did I?
There by Y plus 360 degrees plus 110. How did you know?
This isn't 360 degrees, this is 36. It's the 36 up here. And then the 110 I got from my answer in X. So because I'd already worked out X, that's the third angle of my triangle. So I could use it because I've worked it out.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, just quickly, guys, there's a couple of people asking about 180 degrees. So 180 degrees comes from a mathematical fact that any triangle, doesn't matter what type of triangle it is, if we add all three angles up in the triangle, we get 180 degrees. That was the very, very first reason that we looked at. So the 180 degrees I haven't just made up. It's because all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So that's where the 180 degrees is coming from. In terms of, Wandisile, your question, do we always use the first answer so it'll make 180? Not necessarily. It really depends on your diagram that we give you. So I can't tell you, yes, it's always going to be like that, or if you always do it like this, it's going to work. You need to look at the diagram and see which of these reasons that we spoke about here, which of them apply, and which one can you now use in order to get your answer. Okay, let me just do that again in case any of you are still taking screenshots. Sean, question?
Oh, ma'am, just to clarify, ma'am, is the red triangle an exterior angle triangle?
Sorry, Sean, say that again for me. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, ma'am, just to clarify, ma'am, is the red triangle an exterior angle?
Yes, yes, because it's outside the triangle.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Thank
Okay, so Anshia, I hope Sean's question answered the question you were asking earlier, and I hope that the explanation I just gave about the 180 degrees also helped. Sipilele?
Ma'am, I was asking, how did you get 68 plus 42?
Okay, so in the pink ready writing. Okay. So 42 has come from the fact that this angle X is found by adding 68 and 42. 42 is given to me in the diagram. So I used what I had in the diagram and I applied my exterior angle reason. Does that make a bit more sense, Ipulele?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, guys, we are close to the end of the lesson, so we're not going to do a full-on brain break. Just take a little stretch, take a second, take 2 minutes to have a bit of a mental break. We're going to do one more example, just because there's no point in doing an entire brain break and then having 5 minutes left. So have a stretch. I'm going to see what questions I have. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, so we're going to end off with this question. There's 4 angles, and that's what we're going to end off with. Okay, I'll tell you when you do need to start, so please do just take a little break. I'll let you know when you need to get started with this, just to make sure we have enough time. So if you need to grab some water or anything like that, quickly do it. Sipilele, is there a problem? Sipilele?
It could be the old hand.
Mm. Alrighty, guys. So have a look at this 4th question. There's 4 angles you need to find here. So we've got angle A at the top, angle B, as well as angle C, as well as angle D. Now you almost need to start thinking about every single geometry reason that we have used. The one thing I am going to point out, and I'm only going to say this and then you're going to try by yourself, is please take note of the fact that I've given you 2 equal sides. So I've told you that side is equal to that side in the triangle, and that's going to be useful to you. Right, that's all I'm going to say though. Give it a try. I'm going to give you a few minutes because there are 4 of these that I want to get an answer for. Remember, in the chat, answer with reasons, please. And remember, it's just A equals reason, B equals reason, etc., etc. Just think very carefully about what we have. Think about the 4 reasons that we had a look at earlier and that we've been doing the past 3 weeks. Think about those reasons and think about which of them apply to the angles you have in this diagram that you are needing to find. Remember those reasons, please. I'm seeing some answers without reasons, and the answers are looking good, but we need reasons. Remember, guys, you get marks for your reasons. No reason, no marks. Grade 8s, please also remember angles on a straight line, and I've said this already, but I'm saying it again, only apply when your angles are adjacent. So top if I can draw a straight line. So here, we've got a straight line at the bottom. All of these angles are right next to each other. They all come from a common point. However, if we had a straight line like this, those 2 angles are not angles on a straight line. They don't have the same common point. They're not adjacent to each other. You cannot then say they're angles on a straight line. Yes, they sit on a straight line, but they don't follow the reason of adjacent angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So just be careful. I'm going to give you 1 more minute and then I'm going to have a look. Okay, guys, so I'm going to start with A. Again, if you didn't start with A, that's cool, but I'm going to start with A. So A plus the 118 degrees must give me 180 degrees because these are adjacent angles on a straight line. There's my straight line. There's the common point. There are 2 angles right next to each other. So they are adjacent angles on a straight line. So I can use that reason, which means that using my inverse operations, A is equal to 180 minus 118 degrees. And so A is equal to 62 degrees. Now that I know that, I'm going to put it on my diagram just in case it's useful to me. And now I move on to my next ones. So the next one that I have here is B, but what I notice is that because I've got those 2 know that B and C are equal to each other. So that's the first statement I'm going to make. B is equal to C, and the reason for that is because they are angles opposite equal sides. And this goes back to what I said right at the start. Write everything down. Don't leave it off and then risk losing a mark because you didn't give all of your steps in your reasoning. So now that we know B is equal to C, we could change the C to another B because they're exactly the same value. And so what we now know is that B plus 62 degrees must equal 180 degrees because of sum of angles in triangle. Now B plus B is 2B plus 62 degrees is equal to 180. Inverse operations tells me to subtract 62 on both sides of my equal sign. And so 2B is equal to 118 degrees. But I want B. I don't just want 2B, I want B. So we're going to divide both sides by 2, giving me 59 degrees. And because I know what B is, because I made this first statement up here that B is equal to C, I also know that C is equal to 59 degrees. So in one go, I've got B and I've got C. Didn't have to do any extra working out for C. For my last angle D, what you should notice is that D and B are vertically opposite. So D is also equal to 59 degrees because of vert-op angles. All right. So guys, this is definitely a trickier question